Good morning, sunshine. So we've been settling in. We've been in San Cristobal for 2 weeks now, and full disclosure, it has been really heavy. This town has a very unique vibe. It's required a little bit of adapting, and I don't think we're quite there yet. I think there's still a lot of work for us to do, and I will share with you at the end of the video what has been the hardest part for me to deal with here in San Cristobal. But first, I want to share with you the steps that we have taken to make San Cristobal our home.
If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Karen, and my daughters and I have been living on the road for the past 3 years, exploring, working, and learning through discovery.
As soon as we arrived, first thing we needed was an apartment. If you haven't watched that video, I'll put the link down in the description, because we did something unique that we hadn't done before. Hire a real estate agent and go straight to the local to rent a place instead of going through Airbnb. And so far, part of me is happy to be sticking to the idea of supporting the locals versus an American company, but there's a lot of little things that we've given up in the process. One would be the fact that when you go through Airbnb, there's always that drive to be the best that they can be so you can leave them a good review. And with the apartment that we rented, we don't deal directly with the owner, we only deal with the managing company. And it just so happens that the managing member that we have gotten has not been easy to communicate with. So 3 obstacles that we have experienced for having to deal with the managing company. One has been our water heater. So it's been a struggle to get her to actually come out and see us or teach us how to use it, because if it's in the burning hot position, it works. If it's in any other position, it just goes like ice cold. So it's like a constant turning off and on to make it work. Again, we're in a different country, so I understand that everywhere we go, things are going to work differently. So we are trying to adapt. The other thing is bugs. We've had an excessive amount of bugs. We have woken up with bites throughout our body, and this morning my daughter woke up with a bite in her eye, and her eye is really swollen. We've also had roaches in the kitchen and excessive spiders. When I brought it up to her attention, she, I guess, got defensive and said that we probably brought the roaches with us because they have never had roaches before. This wasn't one roach I saw, it was a bunch of babies, and I googled it. It takes 28 days for a roach egg to hatch. So I guess technically it's not really possible that we brought all these babies with us, but who knows? The fact is that I'm gonna have to deal with it. That way I don't have to deal with the managing company. The third thing that we have to deal with is the scheduling of the cleaning lady. Apparently getting an exact time for the person to come is not a thing. The first cleaning lady we experienced was in Merida. It was included in an Airbnb, and the Airbnb owners would tell us the exact time that the cleaning lady would show up so we could leave the house and let her do her job. Here, she cannot tell us an exact time that the cleaning lady is gonna come. She could only give us a 2-day window. She'll either come on Wednesday any time of the day or Thursday any time of the day. Food. And if you guys have seen my videos before, I have an autoimmune disease that I control through diet, so finding the right foods is really important to me. But also, it's kind of cool to be able to keep some of the traditions that we do back home in South Florida here. So in South Florida, I have a gazillion jars, and we go to bulk stores to buy our stuff. Luckily here, bulk stores seem to be a thing, and we have found several. There's one that will sell you grains aside from toiletries and cleaning products and things like that, but aside from that, there's a bunch that do sell toiletries and cleaning products. So that has been amazing. Now finding the jars have been a little bit more difficult. I've found some at Walmart, found some at Soriana, found some at a craft store. I think it's called Perusian. So I've had to like improvise for a little while I collect jars. As far as food products, so we are living in the center of San Cris, and there aren't any major supermarkets in the center. To be able to go to Walmart, Soriana, or Shadrui, I would have to take a cab, which is perfectly fine, but it's something we're trying to avoid. So I have found smaller markets all throughout my area where I can buy the things that I need. There's a street that has several small fruit markets. Also, a couple of blocks away from my house, there's a sort of convenience store that also has fresh fruit. Also, we have 2 tortillerias right next to our house. We have a vendor that sells avocados, we have a vendor that sells eggs, and we have a convenience store that seems to sell everything that you could ever need, just in really small amounts. So if you run out of shampoo, they have little bottles of shampoo. If you run out of detergent, they have small bags of detergent. So she seems really prepared. And to be honest, like, convenience stores are not much more expensive than going to the actual grocery store. So it's been a real plus. We also have a comida económica little restaurant that you can buy a dish from anywhere from 25 pesos to 50 pesos, and we have a lady that sells tamales on Fridays and Saturdays, and the tamales are delicious, super moist, and she has like 7 different kinds. If you like bean ones, they have bean and chaya, they have meat, like. And if you want something fancier or to eat in an actual restaurant, a block away you have as many restaurants as you could possibly desire, including 3 vegan restaurants no more than 4 blocks away. The other thing I wanted to scope out and make sure I understood how it worked was transportation, but this is mainly for later on when we decide to go on day trips around the area, because the only time that we've used the cab besides when we first got here has been to go to the movies and to go to the supermarket one time just to see what was available. Everything else we have really been able to reach by walking, and the restaurants are cheap enough that you could eat out every day and the price would almost be equivalent to buying your groceries. So we haven't really needed transportation, but if we do, now I know that the bus station is only a few blocks away from my home, and it's the OCC station, even though ADO buses do go to it, and they have a bunch of cabs waiting right outside the station in case you want to go somewhere that the buses don't go to. So aside from getting around and things like that, I wanted to make sure that I had good internet. When we first got the place, they told us that it had great internet, and it does. It has really good one, but it's not very reliable. And considering that on Mondays I have live classes via Zoom, during which I teach entrepreneur skills to kids, I needed something very reliable because I couldn't have my internet go out in the middle of the class. So what I decided to do is look for co-working spaces, and what I found was really affordable. Right now I am in the cutest little place called Centralia. Co-working spaces here seem so well thought out. Definitely something I want to share with you guys. So this one that I'm in has a giant yard. I'm sitting outside in the yard, which I have it all to myself right now, luckily, so I can record this for you. And it's perfect weather. The sun is shining. Probably my favorite part of San Cristobal. Such peaceful weather. Next are the things for my kids. We found a few schools, so if they want to take classes they can. There's a couple of camps, day camps that are going on in the area based on craft, based on language. There's a few language schools that I'm interested in. I would love to learn some of the local Mayan languages. All these classes are super affordable. For kids, some of the art classes are 75 pesos a class. Some of the language classes are 150 pesos. I'm really excited to see which ones they gravitate to and which ones we end up taking. The second thing for them has been making sure that we have whatever they need for their crafts. As you've seen in my previous videos, as soon as we got to Merida, I made sure that I found somewhere that we can get crafts for them to use in their projects, because they are very artistic and it's probably their favorite thing to do. Luckily, We have an arts and crafts store a block away from the house, and my oldest is creating pillows and my youngest is making a purse. Another thing that they did while they were here, my oldest created a painting so we can hang on the wall. We're kind of using their art projects to customize the house a little bit to make it feel more homey for us. We also bought some plants on the street. Now we're on the search for dirt so we can make a little garden in our little patio. Then friends. We always need to find friends no matter where we go. It just makes the experience so much better. Whenever we get to a place, I make sure to connect with as many people as possible in my kids' age group. I am so glad to have found a group here. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, there is a bit of a heaviness that I felt as soon as we arrived. There's a vibe that you find in places like Merida that are very relaxed, very welcoming, very laid back. This town is very different from that. There's so many cultures and so many ways of people relating with each other that you can feel tension as soon as you go out to the street. So even though I am completely open to every lifestyle, and I really think that what is culturally acceptable for one group of people doesn't necessarily have to be culturally acceptable for another group of people, but I have felt a weight with certain age groups. There's a lot of kids asking for money here or selling you goods. We're talking about maybe 5-6 years old out on the streets. I actually saw a toddler. She couldn't have been more than a few months. I'm gonna go with between 10 months and a year, and she was learning how to walk on the street. And I also had a little boy approach me that had scars in his face and was asking for food. And there's been a lot of experiences with children that for me personally have been difficult, and I am completely open to respecting the cultural aspect of that, and that will take some time for me to adjust and relate to them without feeling the heaviness of it. This is something a little bit hard for me to talk about because I'm adding humanity to what I'm sharing with you guys. My natural response is to feel weight, is to feel a bit of sadness, and it's real. It's as real as finding food. So it is something important for me to share with you guys, because if you decide to live here, it might be something that you have to experience or that you personally go through. And reality is that you cannot give every kid money. The reality is that you can cater to every child that approaches you or every adult. So then what do? Like, how do you handle it? There could have been other ways that we could have dealt with it, like maybe living farther outside of center so we wouldn't encounter it as often, or maybe just giving it some time. Either way, be aware of it as you choose San Cristobal to be your home, because each one of us has dealt with it differently. Each one of us is having a different reaction to it, and it's only been 2 weeks. It'll change, but this is where we're at right now.
If you have any questions about any of the things I mentioned, don't hesitate to ask in the comments, and don't forget to like and follow if you want to see more of our adventures and all the things we learn along the way. Thanks for joining. Bye.